Alicia's album is, like I was telling you earlier, it's one of the best experiences I've had as a mixer. Just watching her work and watching her write songs and perform and all that. And the way she does it, I try to pick up something from her. If I can learn that, man, talk about someone so passionate about what she's doing, and some of the best songs that that are gonna be here in 15 years. You're gonna be hearing some of her songs, and I truly, not because I worked on it, but I truly believe she made a classic album. No One actually was one of the last songs that we worked on. The label, of course, she just kept writing and writing and writing, and all of a sudden it just came out, and we went ahead and mixed it over at her place, over at the Oven Studios. Now, the Oven Studios, she's got a duality, the new SL duality. It's also a workstation, but she also has, I remember that trip, the specific trip. I couldn't bring some of my gear, and some of the other songs I was able to ship my gear. On this particular song, I wasn't able to, so I relied on more plugins than I'm used to, which I don't mind. Like I said, there's some great sounding plugins. The song is sort of like a simple song in the sense that there's not a lot of instrumentation going on, and on that song in particular was about her vocal, the drums, and the Jupiter, and the piano, of course. So in order to sort of not necessarily fill the gaps, but sort of connect everything, this was actually Alicia's idea of having a very wet sounding vocal. But at that point, wet sounding vocals, if you don't get it right, then it just sounds bad. So with her, it was cool to add those delays and pan them a little bit and ride. We did a lot of rides on the delays, and on the reverbs, we EQ'd some of the reverbs in different sections as well. And in the vamp, it was just about writing them and making sure it never got out of, and some of them you hear more like there's certain notes that we went, that we really made a delay throw to make it really obvious. It almost sounds like a mistake. But it was definitely on purpose to make sure you got those little peaks and valleys as far as like delays and reverbs. And the key has always been for me is making sure you have the right reverb that complements the sound. And the compression on the reverbs as well. Like again, I'm going back to the R comp, and that, what I've tried before too is putting that after a reverb or even a delay. And instead of, sometimes on a delay, for example, you want certain feedbacks. But then sometimes it just dies off or it doesn't, or it feeds back too many times and you gotta actually manually do it. What I've tried before is you put the R comp after the delay itself, and you can sustain the returns without playing with the feedback as much, and you get a little more control, and you get a different texture as well. And like I said, the texture of that R comp is so good, but you can get away with putting it on something that would be naked. And hey, if you're using it on the vocal, it's definitely good enough to put it on a return of a delay. So it's that good. It's that type of compressor that you can really use it on anything. You can use it on kick drums and snare drums, on bass, and you do a little bit of R compressor on the bass, and then you put, a little bit of that the sub for the R bass, and you got a nice fat sound. So with Alicia, with those delays, I think that added a lot of character to her vocal as a whole. The vocal was recorded really well, and with the sound they try to go for is that old, dirty, almost raw sound, and I think they captured that really well. And then now it was just a matter of coloring it and staying true with the sound they were trying to go for, which was that little retro sound on her vocal, like a little bit of Aretha, where it's about to crunch, but it's a good crunch. What we did with Alicia is she's got a place where she's got a tracking room and a mix room. So a lot of the album was, while I was mixing, she was tracking downstairs. So it was really a creative environment because we were bouncing back and forth. and there was, she knew, I think, and it's peace of mind knowing that when she tracked it, she can just send it upstairs. I remember the bridge section wasn't, when I showed up to the mix, when I started mixing it, there was no bridge. She was still writing the bridge downstairs, and I remember her saying, "Oh, I'm going to come back in the mornings before you get started. I'm going to cut the bridge." I'm thinking, wow, you're going to cut the bridge? And hey, so only someone like Alicia could do something like that. Before I showed up at noon or 1, whenever I showed up, there was a full bridge. And that's what you hear on the album. So it's, you know, she's definitely, she knows what she wants, and she was able to capture it, having her own place. And like I said, that old school retro sound on her vocal was definitely captured in the recording. And then what I did is just sort of colored it with EQs and reverbs, delays, and all that.